Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Code Man Movies. Sprained ankle still. It's not quite so bad anymore. A little bit of bruising, but it's not so bad. I still have to take the rest of this week off. Therefore, I'm watching like 2 or 3 movies a day. I'm so bored. Yeah, so that's really all the updates I have. Chester, as you can see, is laying right here. He's this brown blob right in front of me. Yeah, he's a dog. He's a good boy. But yeah, guys, that's about all I have. I'm drinking today. I'm not drinking alcohol, but I'm drinking a cucumber mojito liquid IV. So it's kind of alcohol, just no alcohol in it. And this is like my favorite flavor of liquid IV, actually. It's super good. The other thing that comes with it, though, in the same box is the smoky mezcal or whatever it's called. That's disgusting. So yeah. But yeah, guys, let's start talking about movies. Let's stop screwing around. Let's talk about movies. One second. I think I can make it a little brighter in here. Just a little bit. It's not going to help too much. Oh, and there's Chester. He's getting up for you. Hey, Chester. He's a good boy. Chester's a good boy, isn't he? Yeah, you are. You gonna sit? You gonna sit? You gonna sit, buddy? Can you sit? Can you sit? Come on, sit. He's not very good at his commands quite yet, but we're going to get there, aren't we? Yes. Oh, good boy. All right, guys. So let's start talking about movies. So as I said in my last video, if you watched that, I've been on a Seth Rogan kick. I read his book that came out, yearbook it's called, and so now I'm just kind of watching all Seth Rogan movies. So this entire episode is going to be Seth Rogan movies, starting with Zack and Miri, Make a Porno. This is a movie I've seen a couple times, directed by Kevin Smith. Basically, you have 2 friends who live together and are broke, so they need money, and they need money fast in order to pay the bills. So they decide, hey, let's make a porno. So yeah, that is the premise of this movie. It's a very interesting movie. First thing let's start out with is, this is a comedy. It's supposed to be funny. Not all these jokes really hold up. There's a lot of jokes that are very much of its time and do not work for today's standards. They're very inappropriate and just don't work for what they are. I will say that. Borderline offensive at times. Plot is simple. We've seen this before. People are desperate, so they have to do desperate things. It works, though. It's a decent enough plot. It works well. I love the friendship between Zack and Miri. I think it totally works. You understand it. They've been friends forever, since like grade school. I mean, their chemistry is great, so it totally works. That really helps with this basic kind of plot. Let's see what else. I will say the first half of this, and even like the middle section, is a lot better than kind of like the end. I feel like Kevin Smith didn't really know how to end this movie necessarily. It does get cliche as well. You kind of know where it's going after the second half. And it just kind of becomes a typical romantic comedy. The first half is very different because it's people making a porno, not a movie you usually would see. And this movie kind of just ends. It doesn't, I mean, at the end of the day, do you need a lot out of it? No. But still, it does just kind of end. Yeah. And Kevin Smith does a decent job with the direction and such like that. You can tell it's a movie he cares about. It's a movie he wrote. So, I mean, he does a decent enough job. I just think he kind of struggled with that second half. I think the first half of it really is kind of brilliant. And the second half just kind of goes down from there. At the end of the day, I don't love this movie. I don't hate this movie. I think it's still good. I'll give this one like a 6 out of 10. I just don't think there's that many memorable jokes for this one. I just watched this a couple days ago, and I honestly can't remember much of any joke in this movie. I can remember situations, but no specific jokes. So that for me makes it a little bit lower. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Can you hear Chester snoring? He's snoring. Next up, guys, Monsters vs. Aliens. I remember seeing this in theaters back in 2009 it was. This would have been around the time. No, Avatar came out in December 2009. Anyways, it was during the 3D period. where movies were just 3D to be 3D. And I remember not liking this movie at all. And I remembered nothing about this movie at all. So I decided to rewatch it. First of all, the first scene is literally an in-your-face 3D thing. And then after that, there's like no more. Well, there is still more in-your-face 3D things, but not as obnoxious as the first scene. So it's kind of weird. And, you know, the story is really nothing. The government needs monsters to fight aliens, which is just... the thing is, there's 2 fights in this movie. The first one is just, they're dropped in and do it, and then the end is just a big end fight. This movie's like 80 minutes. It's not very long. There's not a whole heck of a lot fighting going on. There's not a lot of monsters versus aliens. And the alien really isn't introduced till like over halfway into the movie. And his typical villainous thing is just, I want to take over your planet. Nothing really else there. So the plot kind of sucks. There are some funny moments though. I definitely did laugh a few times. There was an inconvenient truth joke, a lot of adult jokes more than anything. Seth Rogan's character, by the way, is the Blue Blob guy. I don't know if you knew that. He plays Blue Blob, and he's got some funny lines, but nothing spectacular. I think this is a movie that would keep the attention of kids, but other than that, this movie's kind of boring. Characters do look cool. I mean, you got this cool little cockroach guy and this lizard guy. It's good voice cast. Reese Witherspoon, Will Arnett, Hugh Grant. I mean, it's a decent voice cast. The animation looks fine. Nothing spectacular. It's all right. This movie's okay. At the end of the day, I think I like this more the second time as an adult watching it than I did as a kid. I guess I would have been, a freshman when this came out or something like that. I remember my parents being very unhappy because it was inappropriate. There's a couple inappropriate jokes. Like a guy scanning his butt on a scanner to get into a door. Oh my God, so inappropriate. That's my parents for you. So yeah, guys, this movie's fine. I'll give it like a 4 out of 10. It's fine. I'm not going to remember this in a week, though. And that's just the cold hard truth. There we go. Next up, guys, take this Waltz. This came out in 2012, 2013, something like that. And it is about Michelle Williams and Seth Rogan's character. They're married. And Michelle Williams ends up having this crush on their neighbor. And it goes from there. When I saw this movie, I did not like it. This time around, I still did not like it. All the characters in this movie are absolutely annoying and unlikable. Michelle Williams' character is so moody. I don't know what this picture is from because she doesn't smile like at all in the movie. Like, this is the biggest smile that you see throughout the entire movie. She is so whiny and cryy and so annoying. Cannot stand her. Sarah Silverman's character is this recovering alcoholic. She's a terrible person. Seth Rogan is someone that doesn't care about anybody but himself and his cooking. He tries to be a good husband, but at the same time, he's like completely ignoring her sometimes. He's just kind of a terrible person. And then the guy the neighbor that she's thinking about cheating on or with is, he's an all right person, but at the same time, he's going, hey, we shouldn't do this, but at the same time, he's still like not telling her to stop. So, I mean, and then I will say this movie does something different than one would expect. It does not do the typical romance thing. It does something very different. And I kind of like that, but at the same time, this movie is very boring. It feels very long. It's just so many characters that I don't care about. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care if they're going to get better. I don't care if they're going to do this or that. I just didn't care. So yeah, I didn't find this movie funny. This movie says funny. It's not funny. Bittersweet, yes. Love, sure, I guess. At the same time, what happens at the end of this movie, I go, you're just going to have the same problem again because that's who you are as a person, I feel like. But yeah, it's fine. It's so much fine. It's so mopey and so just not a lot of redeeming moments. The pacing in this movie is terrible. This movie feels like it's 3 hours long. It really does. And it just feels like nothing is really happening because you just don't care about the characters, and you're not, at the end of the day, you stop paying attention at a point. In the end of the movie, like I said, it is surprising. It's something different, and I like what it did. I like the twist it kind of took. I think that was really good. And I don't know. It's just kind of nothing. It's fine in a technical standpoint. The direction, in my opinion, is not so great. I think this is the same director as Women Talking. I just don't think the direction is that great in this movie. It's just very flat and boring and bland. Reviews do not agree with me on this one, so I'll give this one, I'm going to give it the same as Monsters vs. Aliens. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It's just kind of It's there. I'll never watch this again. Even if I am doing a Seth Rogan marathon, I don't think I will watch this. Next up is 50/50. Now, this is a movie I love. I remember seeing this back in, this would have been about 2011, 2012, something like that. And I remember just loving this movie. Now, this is a movie that is based on a true story. Seth Rogan's friend, the writer of this movie, actually did have cancer. And Seth Rogan was kind of the friend, hanging out with him, trying to figure out how to be a good friend and help out. This is such a solid movie, such a solid, good story. And it manages to make a subject as cancer something that can be funny. This movie is quite funny while also having truly moments that'll make you cry. This movie, I mean, it's heartbreaking at times, specifically with the relationship of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's mother and him. Really heartbreaking moments at times. And it's just very well made and beautifully directed. It's not trying to be flashy, and it doesn't need to be flashy. It's really solid. It just really is. I just love the characters in this movie. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, he's kind of a goody two-shoes, but I think he handles the cancer in a way that is very realistic. I think Seth Rogen's character is very realistic as well, too. Just how do you handle this? Like, you kind of feel like you just need to be the person that is going to make your friend smile. You know the parents are going to be freaking out. You know the girlfriend's going to be freaking out. All this stuff. It feels very realistic. You don't know too much about the parents, but you know there's some tension there. I don't know. I just think all the characters in the movie are so beautifully done. Anna Kendrick is such a great character. She's a therapist that is still very new to all this. He's like her third patient. And I just think she does a great job as well. My microphone is like... let's see, what else? I just think this movie is really funny. It balances the tones of drama and comedy. And I think it just does a really great job. While also making these people all very flawed at times. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, like, for example, there's a scene where he's driving with his therapist in the car, and he's just constantly talking about how her car's messy and he can't stand it. He's very flawed at times, but at the same time, he's doing what he can. We're all flawed. And I just like that. Everything feels very real in this movie, I guess you could say. But yeah, this is just really good, solid movie, guys. I don't really know what else to say about this one. This is just a good one to watch. Beautiful, heartfelt moments, while also having some really great comedy moments. I'll give this one a 9 out of 10. I really do like this one. Honestly, with this movie, I think there could just be more. I want to know, like, what's up with his parents? Like, what happened? Why are we so not in love with his parents for some reason? And they do such great... Angelica Houston, for example, does such a great job. She's in the movie for like 10-15 minutes, but she does such a great job with what she has. But yeah, guys, let's move on. That's a 9 out of 10. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah, good boy. Yeah. Next up, guys, we have a Guilt Trip. I remember seeing this back in 2013, I believe. And I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was anything spectacular, but it was better than what reviews were saying. And I'm feeling the same way this time around. This is probably the second time I've ever watched it. I don't love this movie. It's nothing spectacular, but it's enjoyable. Basically, plot of this movie is Seth Rogen's character is this salesman, and he has to do this road trip to sell his product that he has, and he takes his mother with him. That's really about it. That's about as simple as what it is. It's a road trip movie. Have we seen it before? Yup. Have we seen these jokes before? Yup. But they're fine. The chemistry between Seth Rogen and his mom is very interesting. I also think how they handle each other is appropriate. I feel like some people didn't love the way that their relationship is handled. I think it works. I think Seth Rogen reacts to his mother treating him like a child in the appropriate way, and I think his mother reacts the perfect way to him blowing up at her. I think it just totally worked with that sense. Both of them don't do things in the correct way, but I think that's how a person would react to that situation. Like I said, this movie is very cliche, but it's got interesting characters. There's funny enough moments. You know exactly what's going to happen by the end of the movie. But, I enjoyed this movie enough. Nothing incredible, nothing great, but it did make me laugh. It's an hour and a half. It's nothing crazy. And there are a couple of fun moments. Yes, I've seen it in other movies, but I don't know. It does enough for me. It's fine. It's nothing spectacular. Woo, boy, I'm yawning. I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. It's nothing spectacular. It's fine. That really is good cucumber mojito. That is just delicious. It's delicious. Hi, Chester. Next up, guys, we have This Is the End. This came out summer 2013. And I did not see this one in theaters. I know I did not. Wish I had. This movie is flippin' hilarious, guys. You know, I'm just looking at something. Whose arm is that? Maybe it's Franco's? His hand's there. His arm around there. And that's probably Franco. I don't know. Anyways, I'm sorry. That was just completely bugging me for some reason. This is the end, guys. If you have not seen this movie, plot of this one is Seth Rogan plays himself, James Franco plays himself, Jay Baruchel plays himself, Craig Robinson plays himself, Danny McBride plays himself. Who did I miss? Craig Robinson? Is that the one I missed? They all play themselves. And they're all at this party at James Franco's house, and then the apocalypse happens. The world goes to shiz. And they have to survive the apocalypse. That's really about it. This is a very meta movie, obviously, from the way I just described it. And I love how meta this movie is. I love that they're all playing caricatures of themselves. And I absolutely love it. This movie is so funny. The humor in this, while having, yes, a lot of dick jokes, a lot of poop jokes, fart jokes, that kind of stuff, it works. It works because it's them, and we think of them as these people, so it just kind of works. So many great cameos. I've been thinking about this as I've been watching these movies. Seth Rogen's movies have so many cameos in it, and I think he's underrated as far as cameos go. I know, like, Adam Sandler gets a lot of talk about how all his friends are in his movies and they all make cameos. Seth Rogen really does that. I mean, every celebrity's in this movie, it seems like. I mean, you got Emma Watson, Jason Segel, Kevin Hart is in this. People from The Office, I forget their name, Minnie Kingling's one. Just so many ding-dang people in this movie. My favorite, though, is Michael Cera. Michael Cera is like this bad boy cocaine addict, and he's hilarious. Emma Watson's like this badass version of Hermione, essentially. And I just love that it's such a great idea. Let's put celebrities in the apocalypse and see how they do. Because at the end of the day, celebrities sometimes don't have to do a lot. So them surviving stuff, it wouldn't even seem like something they could do. And they don't, in a sense, but it's just a very interesting movie. It does go on a little bit too long. I think it could just end at a certain point, and it doesn't. But for the most part, I really enjoy this one, guys. Are there jokes that don't work? Yes. Does it go on a little too long? Yes. For the most part, I really enjoyed it. I don't got much else to say about this one, except it is just really funny. I think this movie is just hilarious. If you don't know these people, if you're not in pulp culture necessarily, this might be a movie you don't get. And I will say this, I mean, James Franco is a complete butthead from what we hear now. So, I mean, some of these things might not necessarily hold up, but I just think this movie is hilarious. I love it every time I watch it. I've watched this movie probably 15, 20 times at least. I love this movie. I own this one. I also own this one, guys. Neighbors. I remember seeing this one in theaters. This is one of my favorite Seth Rogan ones, actually. I love Neighbors so much. I just think this movie is so great. Again, cameos in this movie are just incredible. There's the montage where Zac Efron's character is talking about other people in his frat, whatever it is, who came before their group. And so many cameos in that montage. I just think it's great. Such a good soundtrack in this movie. This movie has an amazing soundtrack. They drop songs just at the perfect time. And I love how both Efron and Rogan's characters, there's really no bad guys in this movie. Rogan, you get it. Like, he is a new dad. Like, he just bought this house. Yeah, he wants to sleep at night. It makes sense. He has to work the next day. Efron's character, you get too. He's in college. He just wants to party and have a good time. It's college. That's kind of what you're supposed to do. So I love that there's really not a villain in this movie. You get both sides, and I like that. Rose Byrne's character is absolutely fantastic in this movie. She is such a badass. I feel like in comedy movies, we see women just being annoying and naggy. No, Rose Byrne kicks butt. Like, she is like leading the charge in a lot of scenes of this movie, and it's great. I absolutely love her in this movie. And I also love that, like, even though they're different ages and stuff, and they have different things they're going through, they're all kind of going through the same thing. Seth Rogan and Rose Byrne, they are parents now, but they want to be cool. They want to be still cool and hip, and they still want to be like the frat house people, essentially. And then the frat house people, you know, they want to party and have fun, but like Zac Efron's character, for example, is kind of lost in the world. Kind of like halfway through the movie, we find out that Dave Franco's character is like looking at moving on, getting his own business, blah, 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 you know, moving on. And so everyone's kind of in the same spot, and I like that. I think that's really cool. So many great laughs in this movie. There's the Robert De Niro party that's great. All the party sequences are so beautifully filmed. I absolutely love every party sequence with the lights and such like that. They did such a great job with that. The airbag sequence is great in this movie. Where they're pranking each other. It's just all beautifully done. I think this movie is so funny. I totally enjoy this movie. There is poop jokes and dick jokes. Some of them don't fully work. Some of them actually do, though. Not all of them do. Some don't. Yeah, you know, I think for the most part, this is just really solid, fun comedy movie. Can't believe this movie is 9 years old. It doesn't seem that old. But I like this one a lot. I think this movie is just so funny, so great. I love the characters. I'm going to give this one 8 out of 10, too. I like this one a lot. It's so much fun. Next up, guys, Neighbors 2 Sorority Rising. I think I went and saw this one in theaters too. Another really good, solid movie. Seth Rogan had quite a few good ones right in a row, basically. Neighbors was 2014. This was 2016. He also had The Interview in 2014, which we'll talk about in a second. He had Sausage Party, a couple other ones. I mean, he had some solid movies kind of right in a row that he did. But Neighbors 2. Oh, I will also say this about the first one. I missed this about the first one. There's some ridiculous characters. The cop and the dean are just not real people. And it takes you out of the movie a little bit. I'll say that too. And that's the first thing I want to start out with this one too, is there's just some really ridiculous characters in this movie. The cop is back, and so is the dean. Just unrealistic things that these people are saying and doing. So that's another thing I want to talk about. Some really ridiculous things that happen. The girls somehow get into the phones of Rose, Ed, Seth's characters, and how? I mean, there's passcodes on phones. Even in 2016, there was passcodes and such. And there's also a handwritten note that Seth Rogen's character reads from his wife. You can't tell that that's not your wife's handwriting? Really? And then there's just silly little... That entire bit, really, that one big prank is something I cannot stand. That entire scene where he goes to Australia and stuff is stupid. I don't like that Rose Byrne's not quite in the lead with this one. She still is this really strong character helping to plot things and such like that, but I don't think she's quite as strong as she is in the first one. Again, chemistry and just all the characters in this movie still are really great. And again, I like where each character's at, how they're kind of in the same place really at the end of the day. This one's not quite as funny as the first one. This one does have more ridiculous stuff from the first one. But it's still really solid and still really good. And still does have kind of those heartfelt moments. There's really great moments with Zac Efron's character that just totally... I think everyone's been there in life. And it's just... They're great moments. I really do enjoy that. And I don't know, I just like where everyone's at in this movie. And I just think the writing is solid as far as the characters go. Like, is this still going? Oh, thank God. Okay. I just think where everyone's at is great. And just the comedy is so great. So many good moments. And at the end of the day, there is a message with both of these. This one's a little bit more with... how we treat women and such like that. And the first one more of just like, I just growing up essentially and still trying to keep your youth and such like that. I enjoy that. That one's also in this one as well, but both really good movies. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. It's not quite as good as Neighbors 1. If I did 0.5s, I do not do 0.5s. I can't stand 0.5s. If I could do 0.5, I would go 7.5. It's nearly an 8 for me. I just think this one gets a little too ridiculous at times. And our last movie we're going to talk about today, guys, The Interview. The movie that had so much controversy behind it and nearly started World War IV or whatever. It really is an interesting premise. The idea that we're going to send talk show hosts to go kill the leader of a country. Is it a little controversial? I guess. I mean... I don't know. You're telling me that in North Korea they don't make movies about killing Americans? I think this movie did not need the controversy that it had. Should not have had the controversy it had. But whatever. This movie is pretty funny. I think it's not as solidly funny as, the other 3 movies I just talked about. But it's got a lot going on with it. I think a lot of the chemistry between characters is great. I do not like James Franco's character at all in this movie. He's just annoying and obnoxious and over the top. But I think Seth Rogen's character is great. I love these 2 women right here. Kim Jong-un, Randall Park, he's great. I just don't think this movie's quite as funny as it wants to be. And I think tonally it's kind of all over the place. It's really funny at first, and then it kind of gets to North Korea. It's not quite as funny, and it gets more spy, espionage. And then it gets funny again, and then it gets very violent by the end of the movie. It's just kind of out of nowhere. So yeah, not quite as funny. It's still funny. It's still good. I've watched this movie many different times. It's very good. And I just, there's a lot of poop and dick jokes big time in this one. They're in the middle of that interview towards the end, and Kim Jong-un just farts all of a sudden. I don't know. And then just little things like that. There's just a lot of dick jokes and stuff that just don't necessarily work for me. Not all the jokes in this one work. But for the most part, it's fine. After reading Seth Rogan's book, he has a couple chapters actually on with what was going on with this movie, behind the scenes and such like that. It's very interesting. He also talked about this tiger scene. Apparently that tiger is 100% real. So he actually had to get on the ground in front of a tiger, which was very interesting sounding to me. Awesome, if you ask me. I would totally do that. I would totally get in front of a tiger. That's really cool. He also talked about the tamer and how the guy who owned the cat is kind of an idiot. And is also not in business anymore, it sounds like. So that's really interesting. If you haven't read Seth Rogan's book, Your Book, I recommend it. It's 260 pages, really quick, easy read. It's an interesting book, and I just really recommend it. Some really interesting stories in there. But yeah, guys, interview, it's good. It's nothing great. It's the same as Zack and Miri and, what was the other one? Well, same as Zack and Miri. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's fine. Nothing spectacular here. Not changing the game. We've seen a lot of these jokes already before. So yeah, and that's about it for this episode, guys. I'm going to continue watching Seth Rogan movies for a little bit here. Kind of just been watching them as they come out and whatever is available to me, essentially. So next up, I'm going to be watching Steve Jobs, The Disaster Artist I'm going to watch. And I've been pretty much just doing things that he either has directed or has a big part in. I still want to watch Superbad. I wasn't going to watch Superbad, but I really want to watch Superbad because it's just such a good movie. So I'll probably have another episode up real soon here, guys, this week, since my ankle's still busted up. It's probably going to be more Seth Rogan movies. So if you're liking the Seth Rogan stuff, hey, we're going to talk more Seth Rogan stuff. Chester and I are going to maybe chill and watch Steve Jobs right after this. How's that sound? Sometimes I wonder if he's dead. He just lies there. But I see him barely breathing. Well, he's breathing. It's just you don't see much. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a great day. Keep doing those things that you do. Keep living life. Keep enjoying your cucumber mojito. Hopefully it's a real mojito. I would love a real mojito, but I'm not supposed to be drinking alcohol. It's also movie night tonight, guys, too. I believe our movie this week is Death on the Nile. So, yeah, guys, I hope you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you real soon, probably again this week. So, yeah, we'll see you real soon. Say Chester. Say bye, Chester. Chester says bye.